entitled that the gallery owner hires us to seduce his wife, and it is so true. So I'm going to tell you how it came about, what happened, and how we felt about the whole thing, and then what happened after as well. This was part of a really important part of our exploration, because we wanted to start connecting with people outside of our relationship, right? We wanted to have some really different kinds of unique experiences, and we didn't really know where to find them. So we were looking like lots of different places, trying to find something interesting and different to do. Where could we do it? I mean, we had not yet, I don't think, gone to sex clubs and this type of thing. Bigger kind of events with lots of people. We were just starting to kind of figure out what it was like to be with another couple. We had been with other guys. So we were quite busy. We were quite busy looking on Craigslist. We were posting on Craigslist, and we were looking to see if there was anything intriguing or interesting going on. Anybody was asking for anything interesting. And there was a post that came up from a guy who was actually very detailed post looking for a couple that could come to his gallery and seduce his wife, and he wanted to surprise her. He wanted it to be a secret, and he was looking for somebody that could be interested in doing this for a payment. And he wanted to talk to a couple that would be, would play out his biggest fantasy. So of course we found this little ad on Craigslist, and it intrigued us, and we thought, yes, let's see what this is all about. So we contacted him, and we decided to meet up with him first, because there was a little back and forth conversation, and it sounded interesting. He sounded like a really decent person. So we met with him first on a day that his wife was not at the gallery. Now, he and his wife owned a gallery, quite a large gallery in the city. And they had some aspects. They had a lot of different kinds of art, but they had a little room that had more erotic art. So he wanted to play out the fantasy in this room. So we met him, and also within this gallery, they had a cafe downstairs. So you could come in and have a coffee, and then you could go up and you could explore the gallery. Really nice couple. Guy. We hadn't met her yet. So we went to meet him for coffee to talk about it in more detail, about what he wanted to do and how he could see it playing out. And so he toured us around the gallery and took us into this smaller room where he had some erotic art displayed of nudes and, variety kind of situations, sexual situations, various kinds of fine art that he had for sale. But he didn't have it in his main gallery. He kind of kept it in the back gallery. And he said, I wanted to play it out in this room. And later, when the gallery was about to close, and act like we had already met him, which we did, and that we had come to see some special art. And then we would go in the back room with him and his wife, and somehow we would seduce her in this back room after, he says going to close the door, he's going to get some wine and this type of thing. So we thought, okay, this sounds great. So we met him. We really liked him. We thought, okay, this is going to be a fun event. We actually loved art. We would go to a lot of galleries, and we enjoyed looking at art, and we enjoyed talking about art. So we were just going to be the couple that had a lot of money to go spend on art, and we were going to go buy some erotic art at this gallery that night. So we set up a date with him and a plan and everything, and he had already told his wife that he had met some buyers that were going to come in later that evening, and that she should get ready, and that we were going to we were interested in some of the erotic art. So that's all she knew. She didn't really know anything else. about what was going to happen. So we got all dressed up to look really, really sexy and fancy, and we went to the gallery later in the evening, just before it was going to close. He was there. He brought us in, met his wife. They were a very, very nice looking couple. Everyone had left from the gallery already because it was almost closing. And we played it up. We played up. We were very much ourselves, but we also played up our real interest in art and our reason for being there, and really wanting to get some sexy erotic art for our new home. And so we slowly makes our way through the gallery, takes us into the back room, and he said, "Oh, would you like a glass of wine?" And we said, "Oh, of course, we'd like some wine." And so she was playing along because she didn't really know what was going to happen. And actually, we had no idea what was going to happen either. I just thought, "Oh my God, I don't know how we're going to start this out." At one point, we were having wine, and there was a nice little couch back there, and he started showing us the art, and we're like, "Oh, that's really nice. Really like that piece. This nude woman, this couple kind of entwined." And so the art was happening, and the time was kind of going on, and we're kind of looking at each other. Okay, how are we going to do this? And at one point, she goes out to get something, and so the three of us like, okay, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen? And I said, okay, well, I'll make the first move, because I don't know, I just thought it's time for me to make the move, because it just seemed a little bit smoother if if my husband came on to her and her husband was there. It would seem like maybe a little bit too much. And everybody agreed. Okay. So Leanna will make the first move. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to make the first move. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was very flirtatious with her, and I asked her to come and sit down beside me, and I gave her lots of compliments, and her partner was watching, and we were all kind of sitting very close, and then I put my hand on her leg and started talking a little bit more intimately. And I said, I just kept complimenting her, and then just kind of falling into her energy. And then I asked her if I could kiss her, and she was very willing to play the game. So that's how it kind of started. We were sitting on the couch, and her and I kissed. And the guys were watching and realizing, okay, it's starting. And my husband and I were, I think I was beside my husband and she was beside me. And so we started kind of making out and getting closer. And then she was kind of giggling because she didn't, she was looking at her husband wondering, this is okay. And he was like, wow, this is really exciting. This is really, cool. And there was a table there as well. So he was sitting on the table facing us. And then I stood up and I brought her up. And my husband then came along around behind her. And so then both of us were kind of touching her gently and telling her how wonderful the art was and how beautiful she was. And then the next thing I know, the three of us are on the couch and we're making out, and and a few items of clothing come off as we're getting kind of a little bit warm. And her husband is not involved yet. He's just watching us, and he's very intrigued by the three of us. And she's not quite sure what to do here. And then at one point it just kind of slows down a little bit, and she gets up and she goes over to her husband and said, is everything okay? And they start kissing. Said, it's fine. This is really lovely. Like, wow, this is such a hot couple that have come in. And so now they're standing up, and then we stand up, and it was quite it was a room 10 by 20, not super small, but it felt very intimate, and there was a lot of art hanging on the walls, and then there were these erotic pieces around us, and then the couch. It was just really beautiful, exquisite, and then he had put some music on, and we were drinking wine, and So we just continued on and seducing this woman and slowly taking off her clothes. And she just completely played into it. We had her almost completely naked. And she was kind of giggling, like, oh, she wished she had worn something that was sexier. She didn't know this was going to happen. I thought she was stunning. I thought she was stunning. She was very, very light skinned and dark hair and a really beautiful body. And her husband was most interested in watching her being seduced. That was the whole thing. I mean, he participated as we continued, but it was most exciting for him to watch her and how she would react. And he was quite surprised how how easily she took to the whole scenario. So yeah, it was a lot of me and her together, and then the guys were involved in a lot of touching and caressing and kissing, and I believe that at some point my partner and I became more intimate, because then the two of us were together and her husband were together, and that allowed for a little bit more fluidity, because when you're with your partner, you're much more used to their bodies and about what you want to do. And I kind of fell into my husband, and she fell into hers, and we were all on the couch at this point, and the clothes were off. But it was kind of like a same room sex scenario for a little while, as we kind of each got even more into the energy of our own partners. And then her and I were beside each other, and the guys were on the ends, and her and I got more into each other, and then the guys were kind of involved beside us. It was really a really, really beautiful, sexy event. There wasn't any penetration of her that night, because she kind of started giggling and feeling kind of shy at one point, like she wasn't sure how far she should go and what she should do. So she got up um, uh, and she said, was this?" Then she started asking, like, this is really interesting how this is happening. Like, he asking her husband, "Did you know this was going to happen?" And he was like laughing, and he couldn't lie to her at this point. He said, "No, I actually set it up, and I wanted to." And so he started telling her about what actually had happened and what he had done. And this was about, after we had really come together and enjoyed each other's bodies, and there wasn't really any penetration that took part at that point. There was a lot of touching and feeling and kissing, and because she stood up, and she was suddenly, it was suddenly like she popped out of the euphoria and thought, what's going on? Was this actually a setup, or is this real? What is happening? And then her husband revealed, "Yes, I set this up. This was something I wanted to play out. I wanted to play out with you." And he told her the whole story, and we were laughing, and and it was kind of like the secret was out at that point, but it really worked, and it was really exciting. And so then we drank some more wine, and we talked about how it all got set up and who we were, and how we were very intrigued in playing out different scenarios with people, and making people's fantasies come alive. This was the beginning of a company that I started called Fantasy Release Therapy. So it was really the whole concept of this idea was to, because what I was really good at, what I was really interested in particular, was playing out the fantasies of others, and I was interested and intrigued in finding out what kind of fantasies do people have, and what are they interested in what are they interested in playing out, and what would it be like to be part of those fantasies. Now, my husband was very interested in this as well, of course, but this was the very beginning of our exploration into this idea of playing out fantasies. The concept itself was really exciting. But, actually, when you actually do it is another story, because you have to be very comfortable and secure in your own body. You have to be able to perform, being in a very relaxed state. And I found that I was able to just really, really relax and get into it. And I'm not a bisexual woman, but I love the bodies of women and kissing, and I love the idea of seduction. So I fell into it very easily. I'm very comfortable. I was very comfortable, and this was something I learned too. Just taking my clothes off, being the initiator in the situation. My husband, on the other hand, who was more of he was the creator. He had the ideas of what he wanted to do, and he's a writer, and he had these big ideas. But when it actually came to playing them out, he got quite scared and felt really nervous about his performance and if he could perform. So in this situation, he could not get an erection at all. Like he was quite scared of the hope of the performance, and it was fine because we actually didn't go that far. She got a little bit nervous after it started to get a little bit too heated, and that's when she popped up and started talking and wanting to know more about it. And then she said she was nervous to go any farther, but it was really exciting and really fun. And it was just as well, because my husband at that point couldn't get an erection. He said, I don't know what happened. Like couldn't get anything happening, couldn't get anything working. And I think, and this is what he learned, as we continue to do explorations and do other kinds of fantasy play, and he got better and got more relaxed, but he got so wound up and so excited and created so many expectations before we even got there, that by the time it actually started, his body had like kind of performed it already, and was in a state of numbness, let's say. So he had to really learn to connect deeper to his sexual energy and allow the energy to move through his body, to be more relaxed, not to create high expectation, to let it flow, not to get, part of it was also having that incredible fear that the fear of not being able to get an erection and not being able to perform is enough to cause you to absolutely not get it at all. Like the fear is creating the actual event, right? Is creating the non-erection. So the fear was so great at that point for him. He was great in the character role and all the way up to that point, but then it was like there was so much fear that he wouldn't get an erection that he actually couldn't that night, which ended up being fine because we didn't go that far. But we, at the end of the event, because we all had so much fun and, just playing it out and playing out this fantasy of the gallery owner, that we decided we would get together again another time. And, and she was like, oh, I would have shaved my pussy if I had known. I would have, worn sexier underwear. She was a little bit embarrassed, but for us, it was like I didn't notice her underwear, and she had gorgeous body. I mean, I don't want, I think that her pussy was just like beautiful, dark hair. I mean, she was beautiful. I didn't think she needed to change a thing. Neither did my partner. I thought it was so much fun to be able to to surprise someone in that way, like really really be there in a surprise element. It was really exciting. The whole event was super exciting, like getting ready before we went. What are we going to wear? What are we going to say? How are we going to be? And then actually being there and playing it out and being these people and then being the seducers throughout it. Like, it was really enjoyable. I highly recommend having some fun like this, even if you if you do it with another couple and you just set up a scene that you want to play out, or you don't let one of the partners know what you're going to do and play out some kind of scene and surprise one of them. I mean, it's just so much fun to get into another role, be somebody else, and pull out that seduction side of yourself, the sexy side of yourself, like really like show what you can bring to the table, right? So yeah, it was a great event, and it was the start to our fantasy release therapy. And you know, you just get better and better as you continue to do it more and more. And I've got lots of stories of different kinds of fantasies that we played out together and that I did alone as well. So I'm going to be talking about those. And if you have any questions about this fantasy, please be free to ask me anything. I've gone into as much detail as I can think of, but I'd like to know like what else you'd like to hear, and yeah, what else you'd like to know about it. And if you'd like to, if you'd like to ask me any questions, just put them in the comments below, and I will answer you. And I hope you enjoyed this story. It was one of an event that I will remember for the rest of my life, because I never had an event like this before, where it was in a gallery and it was surprising one of the spouses. You know, one person had no idea what was going on. It was really exciting just to watch them and to kind of manipulate them through the evening. And they had no idea. The three of us did, and we were kind of eyeing you the whole time, like, okay, how's that? Is that good? Shall we do this now? And what's next? And so, yeah, super exciting. So I hope you enjoyed that story, and I look forward to seeing you next month for another intriguing sexual exploration. Mwah. Much lovemaking.